Hi, guys, dear friends, possibly future participants in the online course My Journey to Health. Maybe just looking for your health, or maybe just interested in things around us happening in this pretty strange time. Maybe you are someone who doesn't even need, but just feels special. He feels unfulfilled and feels a certain amount of pressure. Maybe he feels that some things are a little bit different. Maybe it's for all of you. You could be what I would like to present to you. And this is the online course, My Journey to Health, which I decided to prepare in the past months. And I have a little bit worked on it, and I would like to more or less to introduce it to you. Reason why I have prepared it. And I would like to tell you a little something about my story of spontaneous remission, recovery, and healing from cancer. I would like to tell you guys maybe some basic previews, because here this video is such a more or less basic, very basic video, that in the opening video before the very initial video of online course My Journey to Health, where maybe you could soak up the atmosphere of what I call for cell healing from any incurable diseases. And I mean such a disease as a cancer and all similar ones that are called by classical medicine as incurable. They actually are. And these allopaths are right here because they are incurable. But no one is saying that a person could heal from these diseases. And just in this course of this video, I would like to outline some things, some phenomena that there is a little talk about. However, they are here among us, and I would like to invite you for consideration to join this My Journey to Health online course, which I have prepared. It will be all about one word, one so-called disease of our body and our soul, which only when you say these 6 letters, it means cancer, you can hear it sounds very creepy. People are dread, they fall through certain panics. I tried it out myself as I test on some My Journey sessions where I simply mentioned this disease. And you could try it too, of course, where I mentioned that someone in the family is suffering from this disease. And of course, this disease is cancer. And what was going was really incredible. People variously faded away from the table, variously stopped communicating. Some were anxious because they had someone in their vicinity who, for example, suffered from this disease of body and the soul. Someone who may have died of the disease. And discussion just didn't go anywhere. And more or less always had to be shut down very soon, which I think is a pity, because my story, which I might have mentioned a little later here in this video, showed me that things are completely different than it seems to us. That cancer is really disease of our body and soul, but it's not an incurable one. It is disease that's a so-called eye-opening disease for all of us. And more or less, as my experience tells me, for all of us who have been through this disease towards a good end, we all would almost say and beautify this so-called disease because she opened our eyes, took off our rose-tinted glasses, and took us to a level in our consciousness completely somewhere else. So this is all about online course, My Journey to Health. And actually, all my activity regarding our health and healing, which is mentioned a lot on my website, myjourney.one, it's actually related to this so-called incurable disease, which most of us consider to be really incurable one. Guys, I can tell you that's not true. I can tell you that it's completely different. And if you and even if you want, I can persuade you of it because I was passing through this valley of death at the time when, of course, I was thinking the way the most of us think. I was trapped by allopathic medicine. I was born, nearby was a white coat, and just the white coat was still around us. There were a lot of doctors and internists. And as me, as an athlete, I had some slight small injuries out there, but that was nothing serious. So the white coat tinkered around us all the time. Well, then it came to stage that maybe I will talk about a little bit later then. When I think a bit deeper about this disease, which we are actually saying incurable, and it is cancer and diabetes, leukemia, multiple sclerosis, or the other so-called incurable diseases. I don't really think that they are incurable diseases at all, or that they are in no way diseases that can be a man recovered from. I think they are so-called postmans, who in some diseases unfortunately bear a writing with a black stripe. For some diseases, it is just a big warning, but it's certainly nothing like a final one. I have heard this disease sentence from classical medicine several times. I've heard when they were giving me just 3 months of survival and sending me home to write a will. And why I'm actually in such a state of 52 years old guy where I'm 15% weight less than I used to have? Because I'm content. I'm happy. I feel great. I feel really like 30 years old. I just think I look just pretty much normal. And people say it. Most of those people who knew me by my setup in my past business life either do not recognize me, or if they happen to recognize me and we are having discussion each other, so majority of them don't even know who's that man speaking to them. And why is it like this? Who caused all of this? There's a thread that permeates here with this online course, My Journey to Health. And that's something called allopathic medicine by its name. And that name is spontaneous remission from cancer. I call it rather spontaneous recovery. So, to make it understandable, because mostly this allopathic medicine, I mean classical one, is trying to make everything so complicated that we more or less do not understand it, or make it so unclear that we understand it as less as possible. So they, and many of them, have come so far as not to understand themselves and not understand what they are prescribing, because there are so many diagnoses and certain medications that they don't really know who they are anymore. But believe me, everything is really simple. So the phenomenon of spontaneous recovery with incurable diseases, in my case, it was spontaneous recovery from recurred cancer, is really a phenomenon on which is based the whole online course, My Journey to Health. More or less, the My Journey protocol is built on it too, which is actually 5 building blocks for each of us, which by following these cornerstones will cause the body get the signal, and the signal of itself towards self-healing and initiating of self-regulatory process. And if a man wants, if he has a will, and if he has perseverance, if he wants to live, and if he has faith there is no other option. I say there's no other option for him not to heal. Why I'm saying this is very simple, because I have experienced it. I was in the biggest black rabbit hole in the greatest hell that a man could imagine. I have lived for the last maybe 10 years behind my huge inflated ego. In my business, where I have driven for success, for recognition, and for I don't know really for what more. I've actually done a lot of good things, though. A lot of people have recognized me for a successful businessman because I and my ex business partner built up a lot. And after we separated, I went on my own. We built the brands that were known throughout Central Europe, and products are still sold on several continents. However, where this busy life took me, the stress and the rampage of the constant herding of something caused me actually that during 2016 year, it was actually at first stage, it was in the middle of 2016, such unkind things happened to me. I found and felt a little bit small unit on my body. I was surprised about it because it had never happened to me before. I was really surprised by it. I told my wife what she thought about it, and she said it doesn't look very good. So let's wait a couple of days and then go to a hospital. Well, I waited a while, not too long, because it was growing incredibly. I came to hospital, and the gentleman with a little apparatus that touches tummy of pregnant moms actually, after a few dozen minutes, told me the unkind news that I had a tumor in me. And because of what places the tumor was in, so he told me that 90% would be cancer forming, malignant. The good news, in quotes, was that mortality is 1% in 10. 10%. So that didn't make me so happy. You can imagine. So I went through it all. I passed test that day, which of course in my disfavor confirmed that diagnosis of cancer. And thanks to the fact that in the processes of this kind of cancer, the operation is the same day I have undergone it. Fellow surgeons were great. It turned out perfectly. I think it was done within an hour. Then I was home in 3 days, and I was sort of assured that it would be fine. I felt perfect, but then I got in my hands on a next hospital, an oncologist who had already taken me and recommended me something I would really never ever repeat again. And it was chemotherapy that I eventually underwent. Even though it wasn't much of the thing physically, it did affect me in some way. What it did me mentally, it was just a horror. Which is why, if someone asked me if I would recommend them to go to chemo, I say clearly now. I say following. This you must decide by yourself. But if I should recommend it to someone close to me who I like and love, I say I would not. Never more, because it's really such a devastating thing, which I don't think is helping anything, nor did it help me at all. Because, have to say, I didn't really understand anything at all. The cancer came back to me after a year, and why it returned to me, of course, will be a subject of this online course, My Journey to Health. It is, in brief, an absolute misunderstanding of this disease and the failure to understand the basic mission of all of us here on this beautiful planet of ours. And just with a certain choice, which I more or less tell anyone, it is not about slow down. You can keep working, and you can do what you do if you're happy. But you are not allowed to do something you really don't want to do. You mustn't do something you are sick of. You are not allowed to do something with people who don't enjoy you. You mustn't be surrounded by toxic people. And you have to give a rest to your body and your soul, which of course is a problem because the classic mainstream white coat has different opinion on that. As my view, the view of, say, holistic medicine, which actually more or less divides our body into the material and immaterial one. So let's explain a little bit. The material body is our body. Immaterial body, everyone calls differently, and I call it soul. And I'm more or less convinced that we are, and that's maybe one of the keys why I ever managed to get out of this cancer in its terminal phase so quickly and mysteriously. And that's why I'm fully convinced that we are not our body. This is a complete mistake, guys. This is an absolute misunderstanding of principle of our divine being. And then we can be surprised that most of those diseases just don't work with their treatments. Even if they treat the disease are here more and more, and there are really more and more sick people. So it doesn't really lead anywhere. The way of healing is going nowhere. Guys, let's understand it. And the only way is understanding the principle of functioning of our body and understanding the real healing, more or less deep understanding of possibility of our self-healing process. And that's a kind of mantra I'm going to say so oddly, or even the invisible line of my whole teachings. Try to explain it around the whole online course, My Journey to Health, that I'm really, really convinced of it. And again, I always tell people answer to the question, do you really, really believe that it works? I say no. I don't believe it. I know that because there is a huge difference between knowing and believing. A lot of people just believe, and it's not enough. For example, it is simply not enough to believe in healing from these incurable diseases. You must have a strong belief, but you must be deeply convinced that you are healthy and you will be healthy to give yourself your goal. And have your diligence, endurance, humility, and patience day after day, week after week, month after month to complete what even classical medicine calls spontaneous remission. I call it, once again, spontaneous healing and spontaneous recovery. Because there are no other choice than to get complete recovery if a man understands it. If a man understands the reason and causes why his cancer appeared in those places in which he appeared. And it will be a subject of our discussion during the online course, My Journey to Health, of course. So then there is simply no way, no other way than the path of self-healing process. So we will be discussing all these things one by one, gradually here on this online course. And what's my goal? My goal is simply to give you everything I have obtained. All those messages that have come to me, I have someone understood or sensed somehow. Sometimes it was a communication from somewhere else. People ask me normally, Pavel, how could you be so sure? Seeing on all the scans, all the CDs, and all the PET scans that your tumors were growing there. And they really grew one after another. The first one was just over 2 parts. And then there were 3. And in the final, it was no longer operable. That's it. It couldn't be operated on. I more or less had 4 big tumors, like a small lemons. And the biggest one were, I think, two in one were somehow so connected next to each other, what 3 to 4 centimeters or something like that. That means it was already a pretty big body, and it was in a lymphatic pathways. That means I had my waste ducts full of dirt, and I just wandered around in a never-ending circle. I would like to pass all this on you guys, because the way it got to me has often been very incomprehensible. Even for me, as one of the key moments, I talk about it a lot in my blog post on my journey.one website. And I think I'm talking about it on some videos and on some audio recordings as well. And these are, so listen carefully, these are out of the body experiences, so called OBEs, and experiences extracorporeal that have affected me incredibly and moved me on my way to start my healing process. Because I'm saying that once a person gets the cancer diagnosis, and then subsequently those prognoses came in that have nothing to do with how it could be, so he get trapped into a stage of stress and anger and fear that actually, more or less, I say he won't help himself to get out because fear is so all encompassing. And there can be people around you. They can help you. They can do anything, but you can't get out of it. So that's why I say the spiritual guide is very important. That's a key thing. Sometimes it can be a healer. Sometimes it can be a real spiritual guide. Other times it just could be a friend who is enlightened in a certain way. They are just on this self-healing journey. These people, they are very, very important. And it was really easier for me. I will tell you why. Because I was a matter that maybe one of you had already behind you or heard about it. Of course, I'm saying it, that allopathic medicine here has really no idea what it's about because they can't handle it at all. They actually don't understand that we are more than our body. And they are trying to just disassemble the body and where can be cut somewhere and what can be sewed down somewhere in some way. I have to say openly, that's really something I like to say. This surgery and traumatology here are at a very high level. Yeah, no doubt. But what comes later after surgery? That's where I think allopathic medicine is completely out of the understanding, but I'm not going to convince anyone. No, no, no. Everyone has their right to choose. Everyone decides. A lot of people I meet believe allopathic medicine. That's okay. That's classical medicine, and I say that's right. And I say, if you believe that, I think there is a still chance that it might help you. That's it. If you want to get treated by classical methods, you need to go to the classical doctors. You need to go to a hospital. You need to discuss everything with them, and they will do all the best for you. But if you wanted to heal your body and soul, and you know the journey of healing is your way, you are here in the right place. So I would maybe add up to this. I heard people say, and then people say it's all coincidence. Absolutely don't believe in coincidences. Never know. I never believe in coincidences because coincidences, as they are, doesn't exist. It's just some kind of invisible and untouchable synchronicities that will take you somewhere you are supposed to stop in that life. Where do you realize where you actually are? If what you are doing right, and if what you are doing you love, if you enjoy it or not. And That was about me. I was slowly finding it out for real at the end of 2017. It was November 2017 that all these fundamentals didn't work for me. I was tired of work. I was tired of the business. I've been in the business for almost 25 years. And the business was a lot of you guys are entrepreneurs. So it was really traumatic. From morning to evening, get around the whole world, and lots of things and tough negotiation out there. It just signs off on each of us, someone sooner and guys, someone later. So this is how I appeared, and in mid of November 2017, diagnosed cancer is back again. And with all the prognosis of 3 months to live from 3 independent medical teams. It wasn't just one. There were 3 teams. There were 3 teams of oncologists and specialists who agreed that I had minimum 3 months left to live. 3 months left to live. Unless, of course, I do something, means to go to another complex surgery and very drastic chemotherapy for several months, that I knew at that moment I couldn't survive. And before this decision, I stood absolutely embraced in layers of fear. And fear was what's going to happen to my children, because my children are and were 8 and 10, Melissa and Timmy. I was thinking, what's with my children? What's my wife is going to do? What do I solve, or how do I solve all this? 3 months. You tell yourself that's a lot of time, but it's not like that. You are simply in a grip. Well, strange story happened. This is something I like to tell you guys. Every night when I go out with our dog, I came back from a walk and always walk through the garage 99.9%. And in that case, I think it was just around 16th or 17th November 2017, I just opened the front wicket and went across the front terrace to the back terrace where I stopped. And I stood there for a while. I closed my eyes. After that, I opened them. I observed the moon sail beautifully over our house, and thoughts sailed in my head. 3 months, less than 3 months. What I want to do, what I'm going to, am I going to surgery? Am I going to chemo? And so as I stood there, looking through the vista, through the window, the dining room, where 2 of my kids were sitting. They were doing their homework. Behind them was a kitchen where my wife was making our dinner. So I stood there, and at once I just appeared in some space-time that I couldn't understand at all. And the result was that I was looking at this scenery in which I myself stood on the patio, looking at myself from, if let's say, from a second floor, and looking at myself, and also looked at my kids and experienced what they are doing with them. I was looking through the walls. I saw them doing their homework, and that 1 second, it was just shaking myself, and I asked myself, what's going on? It is some kind of hallucinations, or how is that possible? I don't know how long it was. It was really crazy. Maybe it was 5, 10, 15 minutes. I stood there like a tag, where suddenly the basic question came to me, and a few other basic questions. And the basic one was the simplest one. Who am I? Am I the one standing there, desperate on the terrace, watching his kids and his wife through the window? Or am I the one who watches from so-called second floor, that full of despair man himself looking through the window at the kids, the desperate man who doesn't know where to go? And that second, it all decided. Thoughts, informations began to flow to me, which unambiguously told me, no, you are not just your body. You are incredible, immortal essence of being. And I say soul because I need to describe it somehow. And that's why my journey protocol, it's all about purification, cleansing, and detox of soul. Where I understood that treating only a body, it's complete nonsense. And that a few hundred years ago, some people said it, and those people were very wise, who said that if classical allopathic medicine didn't understand that it was impossible to treat separately the body of material and the immaterial one, that it healing the body a part of soul, so these processes will not lead anywhere. And more or less, just every day we confirm and build ourselves up that it's not really going anywhere. I mean, allopaths heal more and more, and they are more sick people. And we don't have any big results, or even in cancer. So it's like it's just going somewhere. It's supposed to go. I understood. Things are supposed to go where they should go. And all things are as they are. This is simple. I so understand it. And I more or less understood that my journey with classical medicine was over. I came home, I told it to my wife. Within the days, I went to see all those teams that actually couldn't even operate me on anymore at that time because it was not operable anymore. I sat on that console and I thanked them for surgery. I did it first because they helped me very much at the time. I would probably have done by my own right now, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It didn't work at that time. So I thanked them and I said I had decided to heal myself. So what's happening was a little bit crazy. So they were such a surprises. They laughed at me first. Afterwards, they were stopped. And then they have been completely shocked. After that, it went up to such a controversial discussion. They told me, watch out, you have a guys, you have a small kids, and that I'm going to die. And what your kids will do, what they were going to do. Well, I just knew I get better. I knew I was healthy. I knew that everything will be okay. And the fact that in some pictures they picked some marbles, some bodies that they called tumors, I was the one who said it had nothing to do with me at all. And I understood that I had to go the way of cleansing, means detox of my body and my soul. And that I have to add movement, it's very important, and exercise to that. And I have to start sleeping in quality. And with everything, I have to create such an incredibly interconnected, multicolored scheme, which is my journey protocol. And I am named it as my journey protocol lately. That will lead to the healing of my body and my soul. In other words, it will be leading way to my spontaneous healing and recovery. Because do you know, guys, why? Our body is a divine thing. It's a biological, great machine that knows exactly what to do. That's it. Nature, our mother nature, somehow created it. And it was her, not the doctors. Doctors just try to solve something all the time, but the mother nature knows it exactly. And if we finally find ourselves, we get back together. And if we understand who we are If we understand the principles of our real being, then is everything very simple. When all these questions that we will find answers together, and you can find these answers in the lessons of online course, My Journey to Health, of course, everything, and everything really, I can promise you, everything will change then. Immediately, it will be melting out on the darkened day full of fear and worry. And you will understand that you have a health just in your hands, as I understood it. I've started hardly working on myself. And in 3 months of body and soul detox, which are the basic two components of my journey protocol, people just couldn't recognize me. I dropped 15% of my weight just in 3 months. Before actually the second operation, I was almost 90 kilos. And after the body of detox and soul, I ended up with 75 or something like a 74 kilos. And I felt great. And I was even on some control tests because my wife saw me, what was going on with me, and asking me where I figure out that I was going to get better and how I was sure. She asked me with some fear in her, of course. So in the end, she banished me for a health check to a respected clinic where they put on me these measuring devices on my hand, on my feet. And now I was measured my body composition, and they have the wise apparatus for that. So the lady, when she measured it, she says to me, Pavel, I have some results for you. And I like to say to you following, I really don't know how you do it. But looking at your diagnosis, when I look at my colleagues' prognosis about you, and when I watch you have only 3 months of convalescence, I don't understand how you did it. I have never met that before. But please do everything the way you do. Well, I came there again after these first tests. And that was already different testing. I had such a vested interest in that before, such a deep curiosity, because curiosity, guys, is the basic of all the knowledges. Curiosity, be curious, scramble after the informations. I read, I recognized, I tried anyone who had just someone experience with it. I tried to ask him if I was doing it right or well, if I'm going the right way. So this knowledge and curiosity drove me there to this clinic once more time. Where did I get my stress levels measured? I call it that way as inexpertly. Now, please, now grab me at my word. I netted back stress. This is a stress that generates nervous system, and it's out of two parts, sympathetic and parasympathetic. For that, there are methods to measure this kind of distress. You can affect him because you have him and you deeply in your heart. That's why I call him such a fundamental stress. And according to that level, stress level, you actually know how you are and how you work and how you have your systems in your harmony. All three major systems. This is the nervous, endocrine, and mainly immune. Well, so I was there, and I'm gonna cut it short for you now. There was another examination, the hands, legs, tentacles, clamps. So I sat there for 5 minutes, and the lady tells me, please, Pavel, don't meditate. Please don't meditate. And so I sat there, I was breathing normally. She comes in 5 minutes, looked at the peephole, the big screen, and says, Mr. Wojtek, I have some scale here from 0 to 100 here for you. And then even more, so those crazy managers, those are already somewhere, I don't know, maybe around 500. Well, I'm gonna tell you that, yeah, But with you, it's like you make your stress level almost unmeasurable. This is your body systems are in absolute harmony. And it looks you have a body in homeostasis, which is the goal and holy grail of all healers of holistic medicine. So actually, I wasn't even surprised because I felt great. And the way I've started eating healthy. I started running. I started meditating in a certain way. Everything is in sections and in lessons of this online course, of course. My recommendation on how to do it and especially how not to do it. Gradually, my body got to some stage where I actually didn't feel like I should be sick at all. That's why I've been like 3 years. I haven't been even in doctor's control since to tell me if still have some tumors there. That's actually one of the most common questions, Pavel. Were you at the health checkup test in order to know if you have a tumors in you? Have you been with the doctors? I was like that. I knew I was healthy, and I was going to be healthy, and I just don't need a doctors. That was my very internal feeling. And that's why I haven't had 3 years these checks. And I never had any medication, never. And I don't planning to take it or think that I need or I'm going to take them. Well, I no longer planning to go to a doctor. And it's just complete nonsense because to go to doctor, I mean, it's all about prevention, but the real prevention. And going to the doctors only goes the person who missed the essential that on a different continent, it's called variously ki, chi, prana, and in sloths where I live, it was every time in the past called jiva. I call it life force, our life energy. That means only need one who doesn't have his life power. The doctors need just only these people with no power. Who doesn't have his life force? Who either lost it because he did not take care of her or voluntarily surrendered it himself, which is most of us who surrender our life force to doctors, lawyers, politicians, or other people. Please, guys, don't do it. This is the basic of your health being, not to surrender his and your life force. They, all wise people, call it some whatever part of the world. Then doing differently, they got powerless in a certain way and right after this helplessness or parallel to it, we call it a disease. So all these informations just materialized over that's a very short time, over 6 months in such a conversion and catharsis of a man that those people who may have recognized me before and those people who knew me were saying that is probably not possible. Someone was telling me I was crazy, someone saying I'm a different person, and especially people don't have really any answers to that. I'm just telling them, look, take it as it is. And that's about my dear listeners. Now, allow me some of views of these current things like coronavirus and so-called COVID-19 that I'm really personally think, and I'm convinced that there is no COVID-19 at all. And that's it's just like really some funny stupidity of the people. That it's like some kind of play as it's on our Nova TV. They are playing these actors, and you don't know that it's like real. That's just such a thing as a weakened and our poison body. And that's all about our disease. It's just by what we eat, is what relations we lived in, And the level of poisoning is mirrored precisely in our diseases of our bodies. That's it. Good things about it is as soon as we realize this, and that's in these are diseases not only of the body and the soul, once we realize this, and just let us immediately stop the process of disease. It's so simple. If you realize it, you just immediately stop process of disease. And once we start working on each other, and if we have someone around us who I call guide, is simply a guide for me, as I call oncology patients who lead us through the valley of death. Because as I said, from the valley of death, it's very, very hard to get away, get out alone. Or they could be enlightened healers, yeah, or even some doctors who understand everything is different, but unfortunately they are caught in the grip here in that system built on a lie that just has no it just has to burst like a huge bubble someday. So that's really what I think about those funny things like a coronavirus and COVID-19. So yeah, I don't follow in it personally. I follow my life. I love my life. I love my healthy life. Therefore, I eat healthy. That's why I'm running for relaxing. I'm meditating, and I love my family overall. I love my great wife. I love my kids, to whom I really owe my life. And I understood as a one thing I would like to hand over to you, and that's it. It is something to wear all over the course my journey to health, and it's following. I just want to pass to you what I gain on. You know, on my journey.one website, I have all the possible channels you can connect with me. From the mail, you can record me a note, or you can do whatever you can send me email, and all these services here have been for free. I'm helping as much as I can. Of course, the man must want to live. You must want to understand things other than the urge, the classic medicine urge him. But I say, I absolutely do not prevent anyone. I'm not against an intervention and now and processes, the classical processes. Everybody has to decide for themselves. They have to take responsibility for their recovery. You, no one else. And what I'm trying to explain, I'm going to explain you, which will be enough for me. One important thing. Just remember, please, that we are not victims. We are not victims of our diseases. We are creators of our diseases. We are almost 100% responsible for our diseases. Some people say 70, some people say up to 95, but I don't like to say 100, but we are creators of our diseases. That's it. And if I admit this internally, if we accept that conditions in which we find ourselves accepting our disease, and again, we have our disease not fighting again. Let's fight it as we build up those doctors telling me it's like a fighting. No, it's not, as doctors say, it's not about fighting. We have different, like chemo, they say we have a biology therapy, we will fight for you. And I say it all leads nowhere. And when I see these people cases, they're just very sad cases here. As, for example, some of my friends who believed these methods, the chemos and biology therapies and different kind of therapies here. And unfortunately, they are no longer among us. So of those, there are some people who could be lucky. So it may be that each of you just can put yourself the path you feel. So I'm really here for helping people to convey all my knowledge about this here. after my spontaneous recovery from cancer, I would like to tell you guys I received my new life as a gift. I accepted with humility, and humility to anyone who asks for it. I patiently explain what it all about. It is simple, and it's not quack approach, and it's not like we say here the hocus pocus attempt. It's about hard daily work and diligence, and most importantly, making a radical life change. Because cancer, believe or not, is nothing but information that comes from and now for everyone in the world. Believers can call it from God, someone call it the universe, someone says consciousness or just calls it higher intelligence. That information that is in our life, something is not right. That means there is a need to stop and make a radical change. And that's what the full basis is. Once you don't understand this, guys, I have a lot of friends who say, look, Pavel, please do not tell me your interpretations about some meditation and some changes. I like my life. I like to party. I just want to have a beer with my friend. I just want to fly around the world. I just want to play golf. But it is not just the change that has to happen. Otherwise, you will not like it, will improve it. The change is very necessary. Yeah? If not, you're gonna eat the pills the more and more. You feel worse and worse when it just goes somewhere, when it just breaks something in your body, and that's already a problem. And then, as soon as you break something, you have to go to surgery. That was my example. And you have to stop. You still have a time. People say how bad she is. I'm in a cancer. I have a cancer and I have all these diagnoses. And sometimes I say, so that's good. I say, you have a cancer? I thought you had something worse. In cancer, usually there is no need to anywhere rush. It's not needed to rush. Cancer grew in our bodies for several years. Cancer cells are not foreigner cells, guys. Again, cancer cells are not foreigner ones. They are ourselves, our poison cells that are out of the control, multiplying themselves. They just don't have that so-called natural death of cells. Allopaths say apoptosis. Every cell knows how long to live and when have to die, but the cancer cells doesn't know when they have to die. This is just out of control, hence proliferate, therefore multiply uncontrollably. And this just need to stop, guys. So there are different friends of mine. Some friends say, hey, Pavel, thank you. I'm just so grateful to you, and most grateful to you is my wife because she has another guy at home. I'm just changed. I feel great. I look great. I have lost 10 kilos and more or less since I haven't been sick. So there are different stories and experience them every day with a lot of people because somehow I think the cancer information got to me. So I'm trying to help the people right here with so-called incurable disease, and I mean a cancer. So it is really isn't. It is not an incurable one. It is not incurable disease. Cancer is definitely not incurable one. Just an incurable patient, nothing more. It's just about thinking about myself, telling you which way to go. If I want to continue living my life of caramboles and many times such as a gourmand, rascal, but then one can wonder, then disease alternates another, and classical disease become chronic one. And then mostly it will grow up that the body is so tired, that so devastated, it will come to some incurable disease, just like my cancer was. So maybe my opinion, maybe you can think about it, that my opinion on cancer will be a little bit unorthodox, one that doesn't go with mainstream, but of course it is. I just lived through it. Some people call Pavel, please. These expressions like downplay caring for cancer. That's not like a lot of people die, and I say, yes, die. In other words, you call it dying, you call it death. I just say leaving somewhere where we come from. It's not a tragic moment like a death, yeah? I'm trying to explain to people that actually death man should celebrate, and he should decide for himself to go somewhere where everyone calls it differently. So these are other things where some people might be here as my journey protocol, or I don't want to say therapy, that because I'm neither healer nor a doctor. I'm just a guide, guys. I'm nothing more, nothing less. I'm just guide, spiritual guide. And I'm only one who tells story. Story can make it easier to live, to to live and live than this incarnation somewhere else. It will help the people. Even if someone just decide to die, he can live peacefully. So some cases I'm just helping people this way. I will not break down there because I'm ready to introduce a lot of human esoteric stuff. So these are points. So I've decided, I've been sitting over it for a long time. But because of those goals, there are a lot of meetings and a lot of things are repeated there. It's just not that complicated, guys. If a man knows, not only believes, it's not complicated. So I thought I had to put it in some form that would have a logic, that the man himself can breathe it himself. Then someone will have the chance to meet me if he wants. Maybe someone will want to see me, but someone will only be enough to meet online during the crazy coronavirus time. It's completely ideal. There are for that the perfect online platforms. So we can join. Someone will want to meet me in person, of course, without face mask, guys. Please I don't wear the face mask. It because I think it's absolute mistake. It is inhumane and ethical, health harmful. So I explain this to my kids every day, and it contradicts our constitution and the Charter of Fundamental Freedom and Rights. So I wouldn't want to let it go of it. I'm not even a constitutional lawyer, so I don't like to go deeper. So who wants to wear a face mask? Okay, wear it. If you think the world is standing on wearing face masks, just as and if he or she wear it, that's okay. And I'm not considering myself as a anti-face mask guy. I'm not. I'm smiling over it as well, smiling over these epidemiologists who frighten the nation, what they have done so far. I think we shouldn't forgive them for what they treat our kids and our seniors. So if they behave like they behave, we are able to handle it. But what about our kids? So what about our seniors? What about our grandparents? What about our grandparents? So why? Because ordering the young children to wear face masks or respirators in schools, ours, I think it's almost could be named as a crime. And I don't mean a crime in that conception as it is a crime as a criminal. Not a crime is a criminal because a criminal is a man who does evil. So in this expression, I think it's wearing a face mask, and it's even worse in our seniors because it's a group of people we should draw their wisdom from, and vice versa. But this elite here is trying to divide us, divide the young and older seniors, divide all the families. So they try to close them somewhere, best into their apartments, like to protect them, which is just completely far away of truth. Our seniors, our parents, our grandparents, our roots of our trees, which we are tribe, and our kids are branches. Please listen it carefully. I say it again. Our parents and our grandparents are roots of our life tree, which we are a tribe of, and our kids are branches. So I always say, please care here this family tree. Take care of him so that we had a strong roots, because if a gale comes, the right tree bends, but it never break. In my past setup, I have to say I didn't do all the good things. So I could have otherwise treated my parents, my grandparents, but praise the God, I understood everything. And here, this is incredibly quiet lady, wise lady who I call Cancer, that's gonna sound weird. But I write it all over and say it cheerfully with a smile that I owe her my life, because she really opened my eyes. And not to be so, I would have been tormented or beaten to death the way it's happening in life to all of my friends. So in that form, I mentioned I've been thinking a lot of how to put it here, these all wisdoms or things that came to me, and I say in the universe, mail, yeah, it's sending by special ways. I say universe, how to give it both to you and all the general public. So obviously, the first thing, just let's make a recap. First thing, you can every time have a look at my www.myjourney.one site. That there is a lot of information. There are a lot of information. Most of these infos are free, of course, and there are a lot of articles, a lot of interesting stuffs. Uh, all the people have to get there, all information just to sign up, and all sections will be open to you. Yeah, because some sections are for registered members only, which of course I would recommend to you guys. And it's all on my journey website. So you can also join to my YouTube channel, where a lot of videos, should be 20, 30 videos, where you can get all the answers to all the questions just blowing in your mind. And there are really ways you can get a lot of informations. And I'm not very big fan of Facebook, but just if you like, you can also have a look on my Facebook or my journey Facebook. You can listen it also in some audio recordings. So I have a lot of recordings on my journey website. So more or less, someone is enough to read these or listen to do it. So, and what I would like to say, you guys, and that's maybe will sound weird, but I want to tell it to you. We have, each of us, our internal drummer in us. Drummer who sounds differently than others. Just mean we hear our drummers. I hear his rhythm, and I'm just march in his rhythm. And here, my drummer, my sixth sense, or I call it soul, or I call it whatever, it's a best way I got. I'm again reconnected this bigger source bigger energy, my great drummer, my soul. So thank you, God. And I simply limit every day the perceptions of five people senses, because this sixth sense, it's much more important. And I'm really focused on the sixth sense. And that's one of the things I actually want to explain all of you guys. Here he lines everything in online course, My Journey to Health. Because believe me, it's a journey. It's not a meeting. It's just a journey. It's just a long journey alongside with, for example, this online course, My Journey to Health. So I will take, and it will take more or less for some people several months. For someone, it can take several years. But just don't think it's just about one day or 1 week or a couple of weeks. No, it will take really some months, and in some cases, it could be a year or more. My next video will describe directly the individual chapters of just online course My Journey to Health, or why I did it and for who I did it. It will describe individual sections and to describe all the 43 lessons. There are a lot of bonuses. I think there are the 10 bonuses chapters in there. So I would want to talk about it here, like I'm going to be breaking it down. I don't like to talk about it. I really break it down in the next video. But it's even that the format, I like to tell you that it's to be a 7-day format. That's what I would like to say before I completely quit the job here today. Before I stop talk, it's a 7-day format where one section opens up every single day. Each section will cover certain things. There will be an opening word, then it will be some shows, some rules. So in video, so you are not surprised what the format is out there. A lot of videos there will be there, brochures in a smart iPDF format, can be a flipbook. There will be the audios and blogs included in bonuses. Bonuses are books. Even there, you can find such a crazy quizzes. I say that's really just the thing about the fact that the most important things are necessary before deadline. Well, then the 7th or 8th day will be my final words, where I summarize and thank you all for participating in this course here, and of course my full steam into the process to you being logged on my journey. Those who decide, because of My Journey course to health has those basic points are several. I think I might as well enumerate and let you know what it's going to be. So these 5 main parts, the part of My Journey protocol. Let's say number 1 is cleansing of the body. Then number 2 is cleansing of the soul. Number 3 is regular movement and exercise. Number 4, high quality sleep. And then number 5, and just let's put everything in everyday life. So these 5 days will be very important. These 5 foundation pillars are connected and put it in one incredible thread, one hole that triggers in your body the process to heal. Why I'm saying this? Because I know, and it concerns all of you who will you actually decide to sign up for this course. Maybe just call me, or if you just need some advice. Maybe you just need to listen to this video, which of course will be public for everyone who wants to listen and who wants to know what the online course My Journey to Health is. My Journey to Health, what is related to My Journey protocol, and so on and so on. Of course, everything is down to you, because you only have your health and only in your hands. Guys, don't forget, just only you. No doctors have it. No parents have it in their hands, or neither your wife. And even if it is friend, girlfriend, though, in a mansion, close it in it, even they are extremely important for the process of your self-healing. So watch out for your friends who will support you every time on your journey, and they will never break connection with you because you will need their help. I can say that without my beloved wife is just a beautiful creature, my wife Sveta, my soulmate, I think I might not be here among you. So I might want shortly here to my wife, after all. I would like to thank you to all the people I have met throughout my recovery process. They were different doctors as well. It was the doctors who came down mainly from allopathic medicine. They were different healers. They were shaman. They were news and masters. I read a dozen books and listened to dozens of videos. And believe, if a person is interested and wants to figure it out, there is one such adage rule that says, if a student is ready, the teacher always appears himself. Exactly the way it was in my case and how it will be in your case. It means in no way to be stressed. You have a time to sit still and think which way you want to go. If you take the route of classical medicine, put yourself in it completely. Believe doctors, discuss all options with them. If you are tuned more to holistic medicine, find your guides. Let it be a healer or could be a friend, never mind. Find a team of your backers. Please, you let all the peoples who have different opinion than you, let them out of you. Let all the people out of you, far of you, who look at the matter differently, you let them out of your life, because you need the people who will support you and not to seduce you with your journey. Because once you understand what your journey is, you will go on it, and at the end of this path can be nothing really but a healing. Thank you guys for listening, and God bless you. Pavel and my journey. Thank you.